everyone. Welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Akimale at Channels Television Abuja. Let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has presented the certificate of return to the winner of the November 6th and 9th governorship election, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, and his deputy governor-elect, Dr. Onyeka Ebezim, at the state headquarters of INEC in Awka, Anambra State. Members of the Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and Associated Institutions and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, have joined their counterparts across the country to stage a protest against the federal government over its inability to implement its part of a deal on earned allowances and minimum wage.
In the unionism, the welfare of our members is very paramount to us.
The former Chief of Army Staff and Nigeria's ambassador to Benin Republic, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, retired, has identified effective leadership in the military as key to a successful command in the fight against insurgency and banditry.
The best thing to do is to develop the special forces capacity.
More than 3,000 members of the People's Democratic Party in Kwara State have decamped to the ruling All Progressive Congress, citing various achievements and people-oriented programs of the state governor as the main reason. The representative of the governor at the occasion gives an assurance of the readiness of the government not to discriminate among old or new members in the distribution of the dividends of democracy.
In the next few weeks, the party opposed the gate very fully. You will see the gate of defection through defection.
Well then, let's get into our first conversation for tonight, everyone. 14 persons were paraded by the police yesterday in connection with the siege on Justice Mary Odili's apartment in Abuja. Some of the suspects include a fake chief superintendent of police, Lawrence Ajodo, a contributing editor with one of the national dailies. At least that is what he says he is, but the daily, the newspaper, said he's not their staff. Stanley Nkwazema, and another person, an Islamic scholar. The force public relations officer, Mr. Frank Mba, paraded the suspects in Abuja and explained that the arrest followed a swift investigation by the police. And why? The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has distanced himself from a suspect arrested over the siege on Justice Mary Odili's home. The suspect, Lawrence Ajodo, was paraded by the police alongside 13 others. He claimed to work as a consultant for the office of the AGF. However, the police says that their investigations reveal that there is no involvement at all of the officials of the office of the AGF in the raid. In this respect, the Nigerian Bar Association has appointed a special investigator to interface with different parties that may have been linked with this matter. Tonight, we speak with the NBA Special Investigator, Mr. Monday Ubani. He joins us virtually from Lagos. There are many questions begging for answer. The identities of these suspects, the origin of the whole idea, the veracity of the connections, and the real intentions of these issues. Mr. Monday Ubani is also a former second vice president of the NBA. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Ubani, for joining us tonight. And let me begin by asking you, as a special investigator appointed by the NBA, what have you found out so far in this matter?
Thank you, Shehu. That was a fallout of the NEC meeting after the invasion that happened on 29th of October 2021. Of course, you remember that was the day we ended up our conference in Port Harcourt, and then we had the breaking news of that invasion. The president outlined the processes and steps that the NBA will take in the matter, one of which was to convene an emergency NEC meeting, during which several decisions were taken, which is one of them that a special investigator that will actually find out what transpired should be appointed. So consequently, the president did announce that appointment in a press conference that he held in Lagos, at which many journalists were in attendance. And so the idea is to ensure that, one, that this kind of an incident should not be swept under the carpet, because it has happened before and nobody was punished for it. Remember that none of those who were accused during the time of 2016 raid of DSS were convicted. So this time around, we felt that, look, this is an incident too many. And secondly, that there shouldn't be a repetition of this. And so what I have set out to do is, first of all, to get the papers that was actually used by these individuals to carry out the so-called raid or invasion of the revered home of Justice Odili. And I tell you, I've gotten all the papers. I applied for a certified true copy of, one, the affidavit of the whistleblower, that of the CSP Lawrence. I've gotten that, and also the search warrant. I have it in my possession. Of course, the order revoking the search warrant by the learned magistrate. I've gotten all that. And then I have put a call across to some of the persons that I need to see, who I have to interface in order to get to the root of this matter. And they are willing to have me, visit them in order to hear their own side of the story. So far, so good. We are on top of this particular incident. And as I said earlier, we will get to the root of this particular matter.
All right. It's interesting that, because the next question for me would have been, if these parties that you have approached, because the NBA in the letter that was transmitted from the office of the president clearly states some of your line of action and areas you should focus on. My question would have been if those people, the parties, and those who are linked are cooperating with you. But the big question is, I mean, as a lawyer, does your assignment have a force of law?
Well, the point is that NBA is a very major stakeholder in administration of justice, and then if the judiciary is desecrated or there is something that happened within the judicial sector, one of the foremost stakeholders is Nigerian Bar Association. And mind you that the judiciary does not speak for itself. There is only one pressure group that speaks on behalf of the judiciary, and that is Nigerian Bar Association. We have it as our motto to uphold the rule of law. Now, if something like that has happened and the NBA, that is a major stakeholder, feel worried and alarmed, I think the best thing they could do is to also ensure that they get to the root of the matter. There is no issue of law. The issue of cooperation for us to have a smooth administration of justice. We cannot be a major stakeholder while the judiciary will be intimidated. It has happened before, as I said earlier, and nobody was punished. And we cannot have a perfect administration of justice if one particular arm of government, and that is judiciary, is clearly under threat and intimidation. So I think that everyone that has been named as those I will interface with, ordinarily we want to cooperate, in order to actually give a balanced, view of what has transpired. And as I've spoken to some of them, and they are willing, waiting for me to come over. But I needed to probably get the court papers and all the processes, before I begin to pay a visit to some of the people that I need to. And we have written a letter today, which will be dispatched. I think it has been dispatched today, in order to really give them an information that I need their cooperation in this regard, because this is a task that must be accomplished. And NBA is willing and waiting for me to come and do it.
So, I mean, yes. I probably will also want you to explain to us, because looking at the Nigerian legal system, whether or not there is a space or a place of an independent investigator, because the Nigerian police is usually saddled with this kind of responsibility of investigating matters like this, whether or not such investigation will be admissible in court or will be admissible. I mean, that's why I asked you whether or not it will have a force of law. Will the outcome of your investigation can be tenable in court?
The most important thing is that a constituency, that is the Nigerian Bar Association, which is a very large constituency, is willing and ready to listen to what actually happened. And then, And they don't want a situation where those who are culpable, who are implicated, will be the one to carry out the investigation and give us a report. No. What we have set out to do is NBA is interested to know who are those behind this. And if NBA gets a very accurate information as to what has transpired, they will now start the process of what they want to do with regards to those who are involved. So the information NBA is interested in is get us the true facts of what transpired, transmit this information to the constituency. The constituency will meet, ruminate, look at the information you have presented, and then begin to take some level of actions or measures in order to, probably if our members are affected, of course, there are some action that will be taken with that regard. So it may not necessarily be by way of criminal prosecution, but our information that NBA is very much interested in order to carry out one or two things they have to do with the members of the particular body that is involved, that is the Nigerian Bar Association.
It is not only the NBA that is interested in this matter. I think the whole nation and the world is watching, and also they're interested in this because we've had several agencies of government denied any kind of involvement or knowledge in this matter. And we know the role of the judiciary. When there's a quarrel between the executive and the legislature, the judiciary intervenes. When the people and the government are not agreeing, the judiciary intervenes. So when judiciary is now being meddled with or messed up in the manner in which we've seen this kind of situation, then everybody should be interested. The big question is, your investigation just kicked off. So we may not be, it will be it's unhealthy to prejudge whatever you have been able to find out in the preliminary. But the big question is the effect of this kind of situation on our politics, on our democracy, on our society. Because when there's a breakdown in the rule of law, then the society is in jeopardy. So give us a sense of how we can stop this kind of things. You said that this is not the first time it's happening. So that we don't see this kind of situation again. How do we stop it?
The last statement you made before I am coming in is a very correct perspective. Everyone should be worried. The judiciary is the third arm of government, and they play a very key role in stabilization of the polity, the economy itself. And when that particular arm of government is under siege, clearly under invasion, and they do it intermittently in order to intimidate the judicial arm of government, I think all of us should be worried. I'm alarmed. I'm alarmed that up to this point in time, the executive have not been able to make any statement with regard to this particular incident. And this is a particular story that the entire world is aware of. And then there are commentaries coming out from some of the developed economies about what is happening here. But the government here has kept quiet concerning this. That's why NBA is also not allowing this incident to be swept under the carpet. We want to keep it on the front burner, and I want to appreciate channels and other, all the other channels, that have actually showed interest in making sure that this matter is put on front burner. It should be a conversation all of us must undertake so that there won't be any repeat. As I said earlier, it happened in 2016. There was a particular justice of the Supreme Court, I think Honorable Justice Sylvester Anguta, that was actually, his own was invaded. And the man, died an unhappy individual, because of that singular incident. Some other person like Justice John Inyang Okoro, his house was invaded. And there were several allegations, which up to this point in time was never proved. There are other justices of the Federal High Court there that their homes were also invaded, and none of them were convicted. So we feel that, look, what is going on? Why must the executive, do these things and get away with it, especially when election is, coming near the corner? So there are certain, permutations. But as I said earlier, what we are trying to do with this investigation is, one, to stop a reputation, and secondly, that this matter will not be swept under the carpet. Whosoever is involved in this, there must be some level of punishment that must be meted out, whoever they are. And the NBA is ready to go the entire hall. And that's why we are all involved in this.
We're very much interested, and I'm very certain that this is not the first time we'll be having this conversation with you, because this has to do with investigation and finding out what the real matters are. So I wouldn't want us to go into the meat of those issues until you are able to come out with some of the concrete outcomes of it. The special investigator of NBA in the Justice Odili's home siege, Justice of the Supreme Court. Thank you so much, Mr. Monday Ubani, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good night.
It's a pleasure. Let's switch gears now, everyone, and take a look at the debate over mode of primaries as highlighted in some of the conversations generated in the meeting by the tripartite committee put together by President Muhammadu Buhari in his own political party, APC. It was chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. It was obvious that some leaders of the APC, with majority of the governors in this category, don't agree with the position of some lawmakers who believe that red primaries should be the only mode of election in the party as established now in the amendment to the Electoral Act, which was passed. Coincidentally, it was passed on the day the tripartite committee met, and the disagreement came on in that meeting. To get some of the perspectives, I'm now being joined by the Deputy Leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Peter Akpatasin, is here with us in our studio to give us perspectives from the lawmakers' point of view. Thank you so much, Leader, for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
It does look like a battle between lawmakers who are struggling to survive or get a return ticket and the governors who are not ready to relinquish what has been termed as their control over the structure of the party. Well, it looks like you may be losing out as far as the position, your position is concerned. You wanted direct primaries, but the governors and some leaders of the party have intervened and they said, look, you cannot have your way.
Well, in the first place, it is not a tussle between lawmakers and the governors. It is beyond that. The duty of the legislative arm of government is to make laws for the good governance of the nation. What we have done is to look at what the preponderance of the opinion of the people is. What do the people want? And we try to give to the people what they want. Now, you will recall that Mr. President has said on several occasions that for democracy to grow in this country, we have to return political parties to the people. And we have to involve Nigerians, to participate at all levels of politics. Mass participation is best guaranteed when you adopt a practice like the direct primary. If you do otherwise, if for instance you say it is the delegates, you may have maximum of maybe 25 to 30 in a whole world, that will determine the fate of any person vying for any elective position, beginning from the councillor to the presidency. That is what it is. But however, direct primaries allows every card-carrying member of a political party to participate in taking the decision that will give an individual the power to contest election on the platform of the party. Don't forget that the moment somebody wins election, he has a minimum of 4 years, to preside over that office and determine what happens to the constituency, the benefits that the constituency and the people can get. And so it is important that there's mass participation, and a lot of people are involved in the process of taking some very serious decisions.
In this matter, which is very serious, I'd like to ask some very quick questions. The first being that democratic process across the globe demands multiplicity of opinions and options.
I agree.
So when you put in the Constitution, in the amendment to the Electoral Act, that is only one mode of primary that is going to be allowable for political parties, is that democratic?
It's a popular opinion. Democracy is about popular opinions. And it is intended to...
multiplicity of options.
Of course, I agree with you totally. Yeah, there are other cases where a lot of options were, presented. But when it comes to this primary, it was between delegates and the option of, direct primaries. And majority of lawmakers decided to go for the a popular option because of the desire to involve more Nigerians in the process of taking such decision.
Putting it in the Electoral Act, for example, to just say, choose any political party can choose in between, because look, now it's going to be a very major logistical nightmare for INEC and even the political party and even Nigerians, because whenever any political primary is happening, you almost will have a shutdown of the country or the economy, just like you have it in a general election.
No, that's not true.
I've monitored several of the direct primaries. I've done that in Lagos. I've done that. I've monitored also in Osun State, and these are states that have done this, and even during your presidential primary election. And one of the things that I found out, Honorable, which you would like to clarify, is the fact that if you look at the figures of the primary, it's usually higher than the figure in the general election. It doesn't tally.
Well, there could be several reasons for that.
So you have more people in the political party than the electorate itself. Is that what happens?
Not necessarily so. In the primaries, everybody has the opportunity of coming out. All you need to do is just hold your card, and you are accredited. You go straight to go and vote. During the voting proper, you talk about logistic problem for INEC and the rest of them. I don't think that there's big logistic problem in the primaries, because you are going to your unit and it's easy to just move down to your unit headquarters, for instance, or your ward headquarters. It's no big logistic issue. The agencies that are participating, they have their offices in INEC, for instance, have their offices in every headquarter. And in the general election anyway, they equally send people out. You don't send the number of people you are sending in general election to a primary. The last one we did in Edo State was the same option A4. That was what we did in Edo State.
Option A4, for a lot of people who don't know, just basically require you to key up,
sure,
and probably a picture of the candidate. You key
somebody,
up
and behind the picture.
Behind, so you count, or the agent of that candidate.
Exactly.
And you count. So you think that is simple?
Perfectly, it is simple. It is more democratic. It gives people better option.
Why do you think the governors don't agree with your position?
Well, they talk about a couple of issues, and I think the most important one is that, according to them, is that it's going to involve a lot of logistics, like you mentioned. But I don't think that because of logistics, if at all it's an issue, that we should change what we have agreed to be the best option. Do you understand? So the governors actually believe that consensus is no longer possible if it is option A4, if it is a direct primary. And I think a lot of governors would rather prefer consensus. Consensus is a situation where party leaders come together and say, out of 4 candidates that are vying for this position, this time around, let us leave it for Shehu Kibaloye. And then you talk to everybody, and they come out to do the formal
but that
nomination.
Has not worked well, because a lot of people...
It is not working.
Because the consensus...
It is not working.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously because it's torn your party apart.
It is not working.
On a larger note, Honorable, is the fact that whatever is happening in the APC is now going to be affecting the generality of the concept of the Electoral Act amendment, because the conversation and the disagreement in your party, when the lawmakers agree and amended the Electoral Act, it does look like it might jeopardize the assent of the president to the Electoral Act.
In the first place, this is not a conversation between APC and APC members and APC governors. No.
But it does look like that, because that was
the decision that was taken. The decision that was taken, that was not the first tripartite meeting. We actually had to, and I attended both. You understand me? It was meant to harmonize our views within the party. But don't forget that that is not what we ultimately decide or determine what happens. It is the generality of legislators that come together. PDP, APC, APUGA, and the rest of them. We took the decision together. It was not APC, legislators' decision. It was the House and the Senate's decision. Do you understand me? So let us not give that coloration of APC fighting APC. That is not the case.
The
lawmakers have made a law.
You have internalized the
No. We had our own meeting. Others may have had their meetings that didn't receive the same amount of attention. You understand me? So our internal issue should not be, generalized for the whole
your
country.
internal issue, Honorable, I'm asking, don't you think that it will jeopardize the assent of the president?
It has no way of jeopardizing that. I trust that Mr. President is going to give assent because he's an advocate of popular participation in politics. He's an advocate of empowering the people, the real people, those people who stay with us, those people who will come out and stay from the beginning of electoral process to the end, those people who will go and campaign with empty stomachs. These are the people that will be disenfranchised when you make a few persons, to have the whole authority and all the power to determine who will preside over a constituency for 4 years. Mr. President is a Democrat that believes in popular participation, and I'm convinced that he's going to give assent.
Some of your colleagues believe that there is a stronghold of the political process in the parties, especially in your party, and that some group of people, just because it's not all of the states that APC govern. So you have states that you just have leaders or what, and there are now differences. There are squabbles between ministers in your APC control state and governors. There are leaders, minister, and some other leaders that are not happy. The primaries, the congresses have disintegrated your party largely.
That is not true. Very far from the truth.
That's what we have been reporting.
Very far from the truth.
I'm not sure you are on the ground everywhere, but I have reporters, I have colleagues who have reported your your congresses, and there are a lot of issues. Osun said, should I mention to you? Osun said there are issues. Lagos said there are issues. Akwa Ibom, there are three different
please tell me any party that did congresses without issues.
No,
whether here in Nigeria,
you said that there was
whether here in Nigeria or in America or in Britain,
saying that there
tell
are
me one
issues
country.
after your congresses.
There's nowhere you have humans come together in that number.
But you just said there are no issues, and I'm proving to you that there are.
I never said that there are no issues at all. I didn't say so.
Your party.
Not at all. In every congresses, you must have issues. Because we are no inanimate objects. We are humans. We have our different, disposition to things. We come together. We can't get it 100%, but there must be, at the end of the day, you sort out issues. So if you think that it will be possible someday that in a big country like ours, a massive party like ours, with so much followership, you do your congresses and there's no issue, that would be hypothetical. That would be daydreaming.
What do you think is the way out?
The way out is for us to allow the process of this amendment to take its full course, and then we go back and see how we can implement the new direction. We have had changes in the past that never consumed this country, did not consume the party. This is particularly a positive change that the people have been yearning for. I can assure you that our people will be happy. So let me tell you, if you do it through direct primary, you can then predict what you will be able to do in the main election. Because you go around, you meet these people, not going to sit down with some big boys in the name of leaders, and then at the end of the day, some 20 to 25 people will come and choose candidates for the whole world. But now the entire party members will participate, and at the end of the day, they will all come out to vote.
All right. So it's now a point where the governors can have their say, but the lawmakers are having their way.
Again, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
You may not agree, but isn't that the obvious thing?
Both the governors and the lawmakers are still members of the same party. You understand? We have said that this is what we think is right. And some of the governors, did not think so. Right. I'm not sure that it's every legislator that agreed with it. You understand me?
Was a majority position.
Majority of all the parties, the parties, PDP, APC, and the rest of them. Majority decision is
Honorable.
what
Yeah. That's the Deputy Leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Peter Akpata, saying thank you so much for your intervention and actually telling us what the position of the National Assembly is on this. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
My pleasure, Chief.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
we'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, we get yet another perspective. Senator Kabiru Marafa joins us after this break, and we take a look at some other perspectives to the mode of primaries and the debates that have emerged, plus some of the internal issues in the ruling APC. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm now being joined by a former federal lawmaker, Senator Kabiru Malafa, who is from Zamfara State. He represents Zamfara State in the National Assembly. Thank you so much, distinguished, for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sharon.
Maybe before I get into the matter, let me, because I know there are a lot of controversy in Zamfara State APC. I understand that there is going to be a Congress in Zamfara. Are you aware?
Well, since you started, let's start from there. We just received notice this evening that there's going to be congresses tomorrow. And when we just run a very quick one to check, we found out that there was a letter written by the APC long time ago that congresses be postponed till 30th of this month. And just yesterday, I think today is 12th.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, 11th. Now, APC wrote a letter to INEC informing them that there is going to be congresses tomorrow in Zamfara. Just barely, the letter was received, I think, today, either today or yesterday.
I got a wind of it today.
Yes, just today. And even today, this evening, you know, after your invitation to come and appear here. We are not surprised. This is the new APC way, and that is what they want to do. But
so you feel sidelined. Your group feels sidelined because there is your group.
Yes.
There is the group of Governor Yari, and
Yes.
there's the co-option of the governor when he moved into the APC. So for your group, are you integrated? Are you aware? Have you been informed about the primaries tomorrow?
Well, the
Congress tomorrow.
Yes. No, we were not. The whole thing, you know, is a deliberate attempt by the Memala-led NWC, not NWC, this kangaroo committee, whatever they call it. You know, it's an illegal committee. We have said it, and they are giving us all the necessary support, you know, to take them to court and challenge their position by the action.
The neck of your party sees it differently. If you say
no, it is about
the president,
it is about
affirmed
no, it is about the constitution, not the president. You know,
but the neck of your party affirmed it.
There is nothing.
That is the highest organ
our
in the party.
constitution didn't envisage anything like any caretaker. You can look.
That matter has been taken to court, hasn't it?
Well, even if it is not now, we are going to. Well, coming back to the issue. Now, there is going to be congresses tomorrow, and like I said, it is a direct attempt by the Memala Committee, you know, to sideline the majority faction in the Zamfara State. And that will only aggravate the whole problem because now we have a split in the Marafa Yari faction as it is. The Yari faction that we conceded, you know, the whole tussle started with congresses way back in 2019. So after it, then we came to the general elections, we fought, and after it, you know, we came together, the party brought us all together to agree. Now, the Congress, the leadership of the party in the hands of Yari were unilaterally dissolved by Memala, who doesn't have the power. You know, obviously, he cannot just mount the rostrum and say he has dissolved the executive. So they took him to court. So that faction of the party now decided that they are not going to participate in the primaries tomorrow. My faction is going to participate tomorrow. We are going to conduct our own congresses too and elect our own leaders.
Parallel Congress?
Yes, in fact,
but that is illegal, isn't it?
There is nothing illegal. It is
because if the party has sent, the party has the power to conduct such. If the party has not sent a committee.
The party has committed so many of these illegalities. Well, look
so you want to also commit another illegality?
Well, not really.
So if you are accusing of the party,
no, I'm just trying to tell you.
So you want to take up an illegality?
Did you look at the state congresses in Sokoto? 2 committees were sent to Sokoto by the same national body. 2 committees went to Sokoto and they supervised 2 parallel congresses. What do you call that one? 2 committees, I think, were sent to about 4 states. 2 committees were made by the party itself, you know, and sent to them. So if we labored, you know, to bring about this APC you are seeing together, when some people, you know, were mere SAs in their states, mere SA of the governor in their states, you know, were there, and today they feel they have grown wings and they want to sideline us, we would stand up and tell them that they cannot. So we will participate in the primaries, in the congresses tomorrow, and we are going to court again. And we are going to court, you know, to ask for the breach of procedures they have committed. Because there ought to be notice sent to everybody. We are APC members, and we are not ready to leave APC.
Maybe they sent notice, but because of the outage of communication.
But I told you, well, that is another aspect that
maybe that's the reason why you didn't get it.
Well, that is another aspect I think even the president needs to know. Yes, that issue of outage of communication. Outage of communication has done more harm, to our people than good. There is just nothing good about it. The people that is supposed
Senator, why would you say that?
No, I'm going to give you reasons.
Because the governor has said that, there's a slowdown in the activities of the bandits.
Well, that is the governor. And I don't know where he draws his information from.
For the security agencies?
I am telling you as an indigent and a citizen of Zamfara State. And I want you to use your head also. Now, what are all these things about? This break in communication. Now, the people, I think even day before yesterday, I saw, they said the Zamfara State governor sent a delegation to one of the key bandits that controls a very large area, to ask him to embrace, what do you call it?
Amnesty.
Yes, well, amnesty or negotiation, whatever. And he told them that he doesn't give a hoot about the breakdown of the communication because he uses fire. And that is the truth of the matter. They use fire all over the place. Now, so what is the breakdown of the communication all about? It is all about suppressing the people not to say they are, maybe to come to the aid of themselves. Because when there was communication, at least, if there is going to be an attack in a village or there is an attack, the people from the village can call for help from all over the place. Now, nothing. And these things continue day in, day out, every day. And I think the Minister of Communication needs to fear God on this issue. Because to us, there is like a connivance with him, to just day before yesterday, how many police, 7 mobile police officers were killed, just about 3 days ago. And we saw their corpses and everything. And what happened? Because they were ambushed and they don't have communication gadgets, they don't have anything. Now, the people that were supposed to be attacking, have a way of communicating with themselves. But our security agencies don't have communication gadgets. Then go to the what do you call the measures imposed by the government? Closure of markets, closure of, what do you call it? No selling of petroleum products and so on and so forth. Now, these people go on kidnap this thing. So when they kidnap a person, out of the things they will list, they will tell you to bring 5 jerrycans of petroleum product, bring food, bring this, bring. So they don't need to go to market to feed. So for God's sake, this thing is affecting our people, and unless something, if you go back to my submissions on the floor of the Senate, there was this time that I said the bandits are taking over administration of this thing. Today it is coming out very, very glaringly in Sokoto.
But what would you rather have the governor, the security agencies do? People have criticized that they're not doing enough. They made the decision, they came together, the security agencies advised, and they took a decision.
Well, what I would just advise them, I don't want to go into what doesn't concerns me. Now, it is their responsibility, God is going to ask them how they manage these people that God gave them to manage. So, but all I would say is they should discharge their responsibilities with utmost fear of God, because God is going to judge everybody.
If you say that the shutdown of telecommunications is not working, if you were in the governor's shoe, what would you have done?
I would have done it differently.
How?
I don't think I am not the governor unless if you are ready to make me one this night.
But if you criticize that what they are doing is wrong,
I am not really.
But I'm asking what is right.
What I am telling you is it is not working. When they started, when they said they were going to do it, I am one of the advocates that tell people, to give government a chance. Let's see how these things can work. Because my concern is I want to see it work. I want to see my people live in peace. That is all. That's
so
just
now
my
you think it's not working?
So now,
have you been able to speak to the governor about this?
Well, we have not been able to speak in this few days, but I'm sure very soon, maybe today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, because he has been away. and I'm sure we are going to talk. But whatever it is, I want especially the Minister of Communication to take note of this. He is one of the few people, and I agree with him, in one of his preachers, he said, if it is his desire, you know, people of good character should not take up appointments with government. Because once you take an appointment, now if the person respects you tenfold, and after taking the appointment to reduce to only one, and I think we are beginning to see it, because for Pantami now to sit down in Abuja, you know, and shut down communication in Zamfara for more than how many, this is criminal.
Well, I think
people are losing their lives by the day.
That may be unfair for you
yesterday.
to use those words, because it was an advice based on security.
Whatever it is, you don't need to. You don't sit down and just get advice based on security. You need to be on the field.
Only his responsibility.
No, but you be on the field. Agencies. No, you be on the field. You know, to assess what is happening.
Senator, because that's actually not our focus tonight. We spent quite a long time. The mode of primaries. That's the reason why I invited you.
Well, thank you.
And because you know why? One of the reasons why your thought came to my mind, because your party went to court and you lost Zamfara to the PDP because of primary. Now, you are a practical experience of what primary should be or is or was or the situation is. But let's look at it. What is your position on the issue of the mode of primaries? The amendment to the Electoral Act says direct primaries. That will be what is going to be acceptable. The lawmakers have their position. The governors and some leaders of the party have their own position. What's your own position?
Well, thank you very much for this. And before I go into it, let me join the two. You know, the one that you said we have spent a lot of time on, and this one. I want to use maybe this opportunity, you know, to tell especially APC that governance is for the people. So you govern people. Now, my people are under siege. My people are facing great difficulty. So politics should not be placed above the people. So now I'm saying this because of all these things now that we have been talking, and I was here for quite some time, you know, listening to other people. Now let me begin with saying this. I think the federal lawmakers, that is the Senate and the House, needs to be commended on this issue. They have tried, you know, they really want to maybe domesticate politics, you know, that is bringing politics, you know, to the people. I think that is the whole idea. But maybe the only thing they didn't do is they didn't consult widely. There are people that have practical experience. Yes, that is like the people of Zamfara State. We have practical experience, maybe if they have done it. Now, let me also congratulate the president, to commend, even though he has not yet signed the bill. And I hope before he does, maybe he should ask for some certain amendments, you know, for the bill to work. Now, I said the legislators need to be commended because it is, you know, it's a radical step taken by them, you know, one that would bring politics, you know, closer to the people. Now, but the issue is, now why the governors are fighting is because the ones leading this process, that is the governors leading it, I think are very, very ignorant of what the whole issue is. Otherwise, they have no reason to fight for all these things. And on the side of the legislators, now, this thing is a very noble idea and everything, but you have to put in some few things for it to work correctly. Now, I have not read the bill, honestly speaking. So I don't know the extent of the amendment they have made. But if the amendment doesn't include maybe like who are the people that are going to officiate, you know, that are going to, what do you call it, that are going to be the returning officers and everything of the election. Now you have a problem there. Now I'll give you an example with Zamfara. Now why it worked for Zamfara is, now when APC at the top here, or any political party at the top here, would make guidelines, and in such guidelines, they would say that a committee will be sent to a state, you know, to conduct primary elections. Now, this committee is going to be of how many people? Maybe 5 people maximum that will go to, like, say, Zamfara, or 7-member committee. Now, they will go to Zamfara and conduct primary elections. Zamfara State has 147 wards. Now you send 9 people or 7 people to go and conduct primaries. Now, how can they divide themselves into 147 to conduct primaries? The answer is impossible. So what do? They key in with the local chapter at the state when they go to the state, you know, to conduct these primaries. Who is the local chapter? It is the same ESCO that are being abused and and feared by everybody. Now, what does the guideline, like the previous guideline says? Now, when the committee comes, they will go to the ward, and who constitute the electoral, officials. Now, the chairman, the youth leader, and I think, I forgot the secretary of the party at the ward level. Now, these are the people that will be the returning officers and everything. Now, these people are party officials. Now, next is who are the people that, who is going to pay for all these things. Now, in each of this ward, you will need security agents at the place. You will need INEC. Well, INEC will pay their own staffs maybe. But customarily, when you send security, you have to give them allowance and everything. Who is paying for that? Nobody. So, like the case of Zamfara. Now, why it worked? When the committee came, we made case that time that, okay, there was a court injunction that says, you know, both Mara faction and the Yari faction, you know, should maintain status quo and stay out, don't do anything that will jeopardize the substance of the case. Okay? Now, so we now said we want this committee to go to a neutral point where everybody can access them. Without doing that, if the APC sends a committee today to Zamfara, now that committee is going to go into the hands of the local chapter, that is the state chapter of the APC. Now, that state chapter of the party is usually controlled by the governor. So from there, he will pick them direct to government house. Now they will pay courtesy call to the governor and do everything, and now they are the host, and this is our guest that is coming from Abuja. So they may choose to stay in the government house. So if I am a contender, or you are a contender, you cannot even go to the government house to say that you are going to attend any meeting and voice out your feelings. You cannot. So like in our own case, when the committee came, you know, we asked for a neutral ground. And the then party chairman, Chief Oshimole, said that, okay, go to the police headquarters. And the police commissioner provided his conference room. That is where we sat. And there were 9 gubernatorial aspirants, you know, and all the 9 sat with the commissioner of police, the DGSSS, INEC resident electoral commissioner. Everybody was there because it is a neutral ground. Everybody was free to come in and air his views. Now, next, we ask who are going to be the officials, because we don't trust the political parties, the political structure, you know, on ground. So now we said, okay, these are the number of staffs that we require to go and conduct primaries in each of the wards. And how do you pay them? So we now talked about how much their allowances would be, and it was computed. Now, each of the aspirant was asked to bring I can't remember that time whether it is 19 million naira or 12 million naira, whatever. And each of the aspirants paid this 12 million naira. Now, in the absence of that, who is going to pay? The governor. The governor is going to pay for all these monies. Now, it is a common...
So, I mean, if the lawmakers are saying indirect primaries will get into the hands of the governors and they will manipulate it, you are saying that the direct primaries will suffer the same fate?
It will suffer the same thing. Unless if you do, their intention is good, they have done, but the only thing, like I said, is maybe there are things that you need to put in place. Like, for instance, again, now, to declare, I don't know if they said all results should be declared at the point, you know, in each of the wards. Because if the result is going to be transmitted to the headquarters, like I told you, the main committee coming to the state will move directly into the government house. They will be in the government house. Maybe that is where their secretariat will be. That is where they will be sitting. The governor, of course, would not be there. But now, how can you, the governor says, I want Mr. A to emerge, and you are contending, just maybe about 3 or 4 of you, you come to the government house and say that that is impossible. Now, you and me can guess what is going to happen.
I mean, what do you think is the way out of this doldrum? Because your party is now immersed in these debates, which is going to determine who becomes a candidate of the party at some point, just a few months away from the presidential primaries next year. So how do you think your party can get itself out of this?
Well, my party is already in its own kind of problems and mess. So, they are by the day compounding the issue, by trying to bring everybody in and mess everybody up. That is the truth of this matter. So forget about my party. We are talking about Nigeria now. We are talking about the electoral process, and we are talking about the national, the National Assembly that is trying, to bring out something out of maybe rubbish or whatever, or something that is already too bad, maybe. So how do you achieve that? So I believe the president now, before accenting to the bill, should look at some of the gray areas, listen to people, like I told you, like, for instance, to now insert, I don't know, I have not read the bill, if they have done so, because you cannot do everything by legislation. I'm sure part of the bill will say that parties will bring guidelines. That is one of the key areas that the party would now sit down and bring guidelines that will favor the governors again, which the National Assembly now are afraid of. So they would say that, okay, in the guidelines that these are the people that will conduct the primary election. So now there would be, there would be the official results, at the ward will be different from the result that will be communicated, to the center, maybe at the state level. Some, they are, give and take, you are going to have something better than what is obtained before. Because like members of House of Assembly, whose constituencies are right at the ward level. So maybe that is where the declaration will take place. But if you now say that all results must be declared there and then, and you have a very strong INEC, giving credit to who deserves credit. Now, INEC in Zamfara at that time tried their possible best, because where there were no Congress, primaries, they wrote from Zamfara to Abuja to say that the primaries didn't actually hold. So I can assure you, if maybe such things, are put in place, it is going to be a lot better. But when you say, like, for the gubernatorial or the senatorial, where you have many wards, that makes up the senatorial or House of Representatives district, and you say the collation center is at the senatorial headquarters or House of Representatives headquarters, and you now communicate results. So what will happen is, like I told you, they will put the center where it is impossible, for the opposition, to access, and they would now manufacture result, write it, so the rest is you run to court, and it becomes very, very difficult for you, to prove your point. Right. So I think it's a welcome development, but that needs to be looked into, by people that have experience. Like I told you, I have a first-hand experience, not only me, everybody from Zamfara that time, had a first-hand experience. So maybe we need to fine-tune it, even though this is just the first step. And maybe next 4 years, there is going to be, we are going to experience, and we would make more inputs into this thing. But having said all this, Mr. Shewon, I want to just say this again. I am from Zamfara State, and I'm concerned about the safety and welfare of my people in Zamfara State. And I think we should give these issues of insecurity, more and more attention, much more than politics. Because, like as I said earlier, now look at the poor policemen that were killed just yesterday, and nobody is talking. Today, to Zamfara, we are talking about conducting congresses tomorrow. I don't think it is a good thing, and I think the president needs to hear this, because nobody is telling him now. All our members in the National Assembly, are not saying anything, and nobody is saying anything about this thing. And I think it is.
We need to leave it at that, because we're out of time.
You don't have to, because today is Zamfara, tomorrow it could be somewhere else. Yeah. So I think we all need to work together, and bring an end to this.
Senator Kabiru Marafa,
thank you so much.
Yeah, a former senator of Zamfara Central in the National Assembly. Thank you so much, distinguished senator, for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's our program for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.